Because usually things from AliExpress can be either hit or miss. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I'm going to be trying out some HTVs from AliExpress. So I'm going to be trying out these neon colors right here. So I was super intrigued to try these out because usually things from AliExpress can be either hit or miss. So they tend to have a lot of stuff that is like super cheap, but you just never know what you're going to get, you know? Sometimes it can be like that meme, what I ordered versus what I got, you know? So I was like, let's try these out, these HTVs, because these are super cheap in comparison to other HTV brands that I use. So if these actually work out, that's going to be like a complete game changer because they're like super cheap, you know? So I definitely had to try them out for myself. So I ordered these 5 colors and these are from 5 different sellers. So we're going to see if they work similar, they're different, if they all come from the same spot. Because honestly, when it comes to AliExpress, I feel like it's just this one big warehouse and it just all comes from the same place. But we'll see if these actually came from the same spot or not. So before we get into the whole comparison with all of these, let's talk about pricing. So first up, we have this neon yellow one, and this one was from Handmade DIY Store, and for a 10 inches by 40 inches roll, this one was $3.54. So all of these were measured in centimeters. That's how they were on the website, but us over here we use inches, so that's why I converted it to inches. But yeah, this one was a 10 inch by 40 inch roll. Next, we have this neon orange one, and this one was from An Accessory Store, and for a 12 inch by 40 inch roll, this one was $3.74. Next up, we have this neon pink one, and this one is from Chionet Sengsi Store. I'm probably not saying that right. I'm so sorry, but I just can't pronounce it. And for a 12 inch by 40 inch roll, this one was $2.98. Then we have this neon green one right here, which was from WXPYU Store. And for a 12 inch by 40 inch roll, this one was $3.92. Last but not least, we have this neon blue one right here, which was from Be Warm House Store. And for a 12 inch by 40 inch roll, this one was $3.60. And for all of these, taxes and shipping was included, so the pricing includes all of that. So as you could tell, the prices are definitely cheap because my favorite HTV brand to use is Caesar, and for a 12 inch by 12 inch sheet for that is $3.50. So the fact that a sheet is $3.50 for the Caesar brand and all of these, it's like around the same price, but it's like way more, that's like crazy. So these are definitely cheap. So breaking down the pricing on all of them, the most expensive one is the green one, which is $3.92. And the least expensive one is the pink one, which is $2.98. So the pricing on these is definitely really good in comparison to the HTVs that I'm used to, but are they worth it? We'll see. So let's just get started on the comparison. So here are the 5 HTVs, and when talking about each of these, I'm just going to refer to them by color since they don't have a specific brand. So all of these are just regular HTVs. I'm not exactly sure if they're matte or glossy. We shall see once they're pressed. But yeah, these are regular HTVs. And then all of these, except the yellow one, are 12 inches wide. So all of these are 12 inches wide. And then we have the yellow one that is only 10 inches wide. So now let's just look at the adhesive side and see if there's any differences. So here is the adhesive side, and right off the bat there's definitely some differences. So starting off with the yellow, so this one right here, I'm not sure if you can tell, it has some like horizontal lines going on. So it has horizontal lines all across, and then it has some very like shininess to it. I've never seen HTV be this shiny like from the back, so it's kind of weird, especially for regular HTV. So this one is definitely super shiny in comparison to the rest. Next up, we have the orange one, and this one, it seems to be the most like dirty from the rest. Like, I'm not sure if you could tell, it has like a bunch of like scratches and just not actual scratches, but like just you could tell that this side of the HTV was handled because it just has a lot going on. So there's like lines, little dents here and there. So this one is definitely the dirtiest out of all of them. This one right here seems to be the smoothest. It doesn't really have a design going on. It's just plain matte, just like the way usual regular HTVs are, you know, so there's nothing major happening in this one. And then we move on to the green one right here. This one as well kind of has some horizontal lines going on as well, and then it has scratches like this one, but I'm not sure if it's because of the color that you can't really tell. But yeah, this one is messy as well, and this one is actually also shiny, kind of like this one. This one is definitely the most intense when it comes to the shine. This one is kind of shiny but not as much, but it definitely has some shine as well. And then last but not least, we have the blue one, and this one is just like the pink, doesn't have a design going on. It's just smooth, plain matte. Out of all of these, I will say I think the ones that are going to perform the best are going to be the pink and the blue based off of the adhesive side, but we shall see. And for some reason, I would think that all of the HTVs from AliExpress come from the same place, even if it's different sellers. But based on the way these adhesives look, maybe not, because these two are the same and then these 3 are like different. So only 2 out of the 5 look the same. So we'll see if that makes a difference with the pressing. So now I'm just going to send all of these to cut, and I'm going to use a regular iron-on cut setting for all of these. So here they are after they've been cut. I don't know if I mentioned earlier how this one is see-through. It's kind of like transparent. Do you see how the pink is like popping out? It's not completely like in your face, but it is see-through in comparison to the rest. Like look, this one, you can't see it under. This green one kind of as well, but it's not as intense as this one. So these two definitely have some transparency to it. So we'll see if that makes a difference when it comes to the shirt, because I am going to use like a darker tie-dye shirt. So we'll see if it changes the color of it or not. And then out of all of them, the ones that have the cut lines like stand out the most are the pink and the blue. The ones that have the smooth finish like I mentioned. So you could straight up see what you actually cut on these. And then for this one, it's a little bit harder because it's like shiny, and it probably has to do with the color as well. So these two colors, it's definitely harder to see because just of the way it is. And then the orangey one, since it has so much going on, it's like completely hard to actually see what was cut. So when it comes to weeding, I didn't cut like super intense cuts, so it's not going to be that hard. But yeah, these two are definitely the easiest to see, and then we have these 3 that are much harder. So here is the front side of them, and on this side it definitely is much harder to see your actual cut lines. The only ones that are kind of noticeable are the pink and the blue once again. But the pink is definitely much more noticeable. Maybe it has to do with the coloring because it's brighter. But yeah, for these 3, it's definitely harder. It's kind of impossible to tell what was cut. And then when looking at this one, like actually paying close attention to it, it does kind of seem like the HTV is damaged there. I'm not sure if it's just the film that's covering it or what, but it does seem like there's some like lines going on there. So we'll see when I press it. I hope it's not part of the HTV. I hope it's just the film or whatever. But yeah, now let's just go ahead and weed these. First up, we have the yellow. So let's see how this one cuts. Oh, so right off the bat, definitely very easy. So the yellow one, definitely super duper easy to weed, so far so good. Next up, we have the orange one. And this one also so far super easy. Okay, this one is definitely a little rougher than the yellow. As you can see, it's not cutting where it should cut. It's like ripping it off, so it's definitely different than the yellow one. So for the orange one, this one was definitely a little bit harder to weed than the yellow one. The yellow one, I just pulled it and it completely came off. This one, as I was pulling, it was ripping the HTV and it wasn't ripping like where the cuts were. So definitely a little harder to work with than the yellow, but definitely nothing super impossible. Now we have the pink one. So this one is fairly easy to weed as well. Just look at that. So for sure, super easy, just like the yellow one, and not as rough as the orange one. Next, we have the green. So this one, as you saw, also ripped as I was pulling, just like the orange one, and then it did lift a little bit. So definitely not as easy as the yellow and the pink, but not as rough. But I didn't like how it lifted my cut right there. Last but not least, we have the blue one. Okay, this one does feel a little rougher than the rest. And it seems like it's thicker. Yeah, definitely way rougher. Wow, I have to actually put some force into this one. So this one for sure was the hardest out of all of them. For some reason, it seems like it's thicker, so it requires more strength when it comes to pulling it. So it's definitely not as easy as the rest. The others, as you saw, just pulled it, came right off. This one, you need more strength, so keep that in mind. So I went ahead and saved these scraps just to compare the thickness, and the blue one for sure is the thickest in comparison to the rest. So it feels like 2 of these would equal 1 of these. So I kind of feel like these have the same thickness, and then out of all of them, for some reason, I don't know if it's just me or my imagination, but I feel like this one is the thinnest. So this one is the thinnest, then we have these that are kind of the same, and then we have the thicker one. So once I press it on the shirt, I'm sure you're not even going to be able to tell, but I just wanted to mention that. So here we have them all weeded. So for sure, the yellow and the pink were the easiest to weed. It was super simple. Next up, we had the orange one, which it peeled easily, but it was ripping as I went. So it's not as flawless as these two. And then we have the green one that as I was going, it ripped as well. And then it lifted my design, which is not a good thing because let's say we're cutting intricate cuts. You don't want your design to lift, you know? And last but not least, the hardest was definitely the blue one right here. It took more strength. It wasn't as fast. It wasn't as easy as the rest. So easiest, then we have this one, then this one, then this one. But even though some were easier to weed than others, I mean, they all weeded nicely. I didn't have issues with anything like major, so far, so good. So now that everything is weeded, let's just go ahead and get started with the shirt. So for this, I'm gonna be using a 100% cotton t-shirt, and I'm just gonna go ahead and prep it. So since I'm using HTVs with different press times, I'm just gonna go ahead and put the design on the t-shirt just to get an idea of where it goes, and then we're gonna see which ones we could do at the same time and which ones we can't. So all of these are kind of different with temperature and pressing time, but kind of the same. So both the yellow and the orange have a temperature of 305 degrees Fahrenheit, but this one is 10 to 15 seconds and this one is 25 to 40 seconds. And then we have the pink and the green, and both of these are 302 degrees to 320 degrees Fahrenheit, and they're 10 to 15 seconds. And the blue, this one didn't even come with instructions, so I'm just gonna go ahead and make up my own and do pretty much the average of all of them, which is 305 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm just gonna do like 15 seconds like the rest. So I would have been able to do all of these at the same time at 305 degrees for 15 seconds, but since this orange right here has a press time of 25 to 40 seconds, that's the one that ruins it for me. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna do these three at the same time, do them for 305 degrees for 15 seconds, then do this one by itself, and then this one. So while playing around with these, I did notice that the carrier sheet isn't as sticky as I would like it to be. Like I like when you put the design onto your t-shirt and it like sticks there and doesn't move, but these, it doesn't stick at all. So you kind of have to be careful that your design doesn't move and hold it into place as you put the Teflon sheet. So for these three, we're gonna do 305 degrees for 15 seconds. So for the pink one, I believe this one is a hot or cold peel, so let's just go ahead and pull. And that was an easy peel. Now for the green one, this one is a hot peel as well. Oh damn, this one is much harder. Doesn't even seem like it's on there. Damn, do you see that? Oh my god. I think I'm gonna let it cool and then peel it because there's no way, dude. Or should I just do it? Whatever, let's do it. Okay, so this one did peel, but it was kind of hard. Like, I guess that edge didn't really press right. So I thought I was gonna have issues, but luckily it peeled off. And like I mentioned, the blue didn't even have instructions, so I'm just gonna go ahead and peel it hot. And there we go. So I think I wanna press the green one again, just in case. Should I do all of them? Let's just do all of them for a few seconds. Now it does seem like it's on there. Now let's move on to the orange one. This is the one that ruined it for all of them because I couldn't press it by itself because it's 25 to 40 seconds. So we'll see how this one works out. And I'm just gonna do 25 seconds because I feel like 40 is just way too much. And I just already know that my A is gonna have a little dent because of this one. Yep, a little bit of dent, and then you could tell it's a little burnt. Oh well. So this is a cold peel, so we're just gonna leave it like that. And then we have the yellow one, which is 305 degrees for 10 to 15 seconds. So we're just gonna do the 15 seconds. So this is a cold peel as well, so we're just gonna let it sit. And I'm using my cooling block just to speed up the process. So I just looked at this edge and it just does not even seem like it's pressed at all. Did I not get that little corner? I guess I have to do it again. I should have just done these first. Now my poor pink has different spots. Just gonna press it one more time. Yeah, that didn't help. Now that they're cool, let's just go ahead and peel. So definitely kind of hard to peel. Not as smooth as I'm used to. Now onto the yellow one. See the edge once again. What's up with the easy press, dude? That it did not like get my edges. And I didn't use my heat press for this same reason because it has different heat settings and it's way harder to work with the big heat press with different temps, you know? You see that? My poor edge. I need to go ahead and repress it. Oh my god, see, it dents it. But what can you do? Let me just go ahead and just repress everything one more time just to try to smooth out the pink section just because of the different times that I pressed it. And there we have it. So here it is up close. Right off the bat, I will say the only ones that seem to be matte are the yellow and the green. Like the blue one is just straight up shiny. Like this one is not matte whatsoever. The pink kind of has some matteness to it, but not really. Like there's still some shiny going on, and same with the orange. So for sure, only 2 out of the 5 are matte. For some reason, I thought they were all gonna be matte, but nope. And then as for the texture, you know, when it comes to HTV, you want your texture to peek through. So out of all of them, the one that actually has the knit going on, like the knit vertical stripes, is the yellow one right here. Like you can see those peeking through, and then with the blue one as well, you could see that it has some sort of texture going on from the knit. And then these other ones have some texture as well, but not as much as these. So we'll see if that makes a difference when it comes to the washing. I feel like this one is the one that doesn't have any design at all. It's like the most matte, the less obvious with the texture. Out of all of them is the green one right here. And I did want to mention, I don't know if you could tell, I did not even realize this when I went to weed, that the pink section right there didn't really cut right. Like those small little peace signs, there's like little edges sticking out. I should have paid attention and stuck those little edges inside so it was like a perfect line. But no, you can see it up there. It has like a little crooked edge right there. And also, you probably saw me pressing this pink one a few times because it kept getting dented with these right here. So inside the flower, there is some like glue residue coming out. So I would say that's my own fault because, you know, I pressed it a few times. But other than that, everything seems like it's on there. When I do rub my hands through it, the one that seems the stickiest is the blue one right here, I guess because it's like the shiniest. Like these matte ones are the ones that you could feel the less. Like this one, it just straight up gets stuck there, like you can feel it. So I think when you're wearing it, you're gonna be able to feel this one more than you would these. Like this one, it's still kind of sticky, but not as much as this one. And not as smooth as this one, you know? So definitely when it comes to HTV, that's why I like going for matte, because you can't really feel it. It's not shiny, doesn't really hit the light. You could actually see your design. So that's why I personally go for the mattes. But overall, everything does feel like it's on there. Even these little edges, those little flower centers and stuff, everything feels like it's on there. We'll see if it survives the wash. You know me, I like doing these wash tests just to see if these HTVs actually survive the wash, because you know, that's one of the most important things. And as with any HTV, you always have to wait 24 hours before washing it, so that's exactly what I'm gonna do. And after the 24 hours, I'm gonna turn it inside out, throw it into the wash, and then we'll come back and see if it survived. So here it is after it's been washed and air dried. So everything definitely feels like it's still on there. Like I don't feel any edges lifting or anything. Even these little parts are still on there. So that's definitely a good thing. It just shows that all of these survived the wash. And I did mention earlier how the yellow and the green did seem to be transparent. And I thought that might be an issue because I was using a darker shirt. But as you could tell, that didn't even make a difference because you could still tell that this is neon yellow and this is neon green. You don't see any of like the tie-dye peeking through, so that's a good thing. So the whole transparent thing didn't even make a difference. And I also mentioned that this HTV right here, it looked like it was damaged on the inside. Like I wasn't sure if it was the actual HTV or the film. But now looking at it, I don't see the HTV messed up at all, so I guess that was just a carrier sheet. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that. But overall, all of these definitely passed the wash test, so 2 thumbs up. So here it is once again. Peace. So here's the finished product. Overall, I feel like they all performed really well. They all pressed nicely. They all survived the wash, which is the most important. I don't think there was any fails here. Usually when I do these kind of comparisons, there's always one that's kind of like, I would never use it again. But I feel like all of these are actually really, really good, and I feel like I would use them again. But like always, I do have my favorites and my least favorites, so I'm gonna rank them. So let's get started with that. So starting off with last place, I'm gonna have to give it to the blue one right here. I personally like my regular HTVs to be matte. I feel like the look of it just looks better. Kind of looks like it's part of the shirt. It doesn't really stand out. So my preference is when they look matte, and I feel like this one is like completely shiny. And you could tell that it's shiny because it's such a big image that's showing a lot of the HTV, you know? So for my personal preference, I prefer my HTV to be matte. And also, this one was the hardest one to weed out of all of them. You had to use more strength when it came to pulling it and stuff, and there's nothing better than having HTV that you can just completely weed like super fast and super easy, you know? And this one was definitely the hardest out of all of them. So that's why this one is taking last place in my opinion. Then for 4th place, I'm gonna have to go with the pink one, which is so funny because I did mention earlier that I thought that the pink one and the blue one were gonna be the ones that were gonna perform the best. And would you look at that? They're the ones that performed the least in my opinion. So the pink one is getting 4th place because as you could tell, this one is shiny as well. And like I mentioned, I'm not really a fan of shiny HTV. And also, I'm not sure if you can tell, but the adhesive really bled out in this one. I know I pressed this one a few times because I was working with this one, so it was kind of hard to like work with all of them at the same time because they had different press times and temperatures. So I kind of did have to press this one more than the others. But from what I recall, I only pressed like this section more and this section. But like even the inside, it has like the adhesive sticking out and then out here too. So I understand this area, but like even this area, which wasn't pressed as much, it still has the glue kind of like bleeding through. So with other HTVs, when I've kind of like burned it a little too much or like pressed it a little bit too much, you never really see the adhesive kind of show as much as this one does. So this one you could tell is kind of sensitive and it like tends to burn easier, or like the glue is more sensitive in comparison to the rest. That glue just doesn't make it look nice. And also I did mention how this one was cut kind of like crooked. So like that center line in the peace sign, it's like not as straight as it should be. It's like straight and then it kind of has like a dent going like that. So clearly this one doesn't cut as well, which is not a good thing. We want our stuff to be spotless, you know? So that's why this one right here is getting 4th place. And now these next 3 didn't even perform bad, but I just decided to rank them because that's what this video is for, you know? So for 3rd place, it's gonna have to go to the orange one right here. You know I'm a matte girl. This one isn't really as matte, so that's why it's getting points docked. And as you saw, this one was also a little bit tough to weed. As I was weeding, it was ripping the HTV. So that just means that it's like sensitive and tears easily. And usually when you're pulling on your HTV, you want it to just pull on the cut lines and not on itself, you know? And this one was cutting on itself instead of the cut lines. So that's why this one is taking 3rd place. And now for 2nd place, it's gonna have to go to the green one. So I did mention earlier that I didn't like how when I was weeding it, it lifted my design, because that's one of the things that you don't want. But I just overall like the way this one looks in comparison to these 3, you know? Just the way that it's matte, just the color, I just like it way more than these. So I can get past that weeding struggle, you know? Because overall, I just like how this one looks. So that's why it's taking 2nd place, because dude, look at that matte. The matte just makes it look cooler, you know? So obviously the number 1 spot is gonna have to go to the neon yellow one. I don't know if it's the color or what, but I just love how this one just looks in comparison to the rest. It weeded super duper easy, as you saw. It cut nicely, it pressed nicely. Overall, it's my favorite. I just like the way this one looks in comparison to the rest. Like, just look at how the matte's just way better for me. I just like the mattes. So that's why this one is taking 1st place. But even though I ranked them all, like I stated, they all survived the wash. They all pressed nicely, no lifting or anything. So I definitely would suggest all of them. I like would recommend all of them because look, there's a shirt, there was no fails, no nothing. So even though I had my favorites and my least favorites and some were easier to work with than others, I still feel like they all worked really, really well. And there was definitely no major fails here. So definitely check them out if you're interested, because these are super duper cheap. Like, that's crazy how cheap they are. So I'm gonna definitely keep playing around with them and see if they actually continue to survive the wash, you know, because they might be pressed the first time, but after like, let's say 5 washes or so, you don't want them to be lifting, you know? So I'm going to continue to play around with them. And I also want to continue to try out more HTVs from AliExpress, because they're all pretty much like super duper cheap. I'll have all of these linked down below. Definitely check them out if you're interested. I really hope you guys found this video helpful. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to leave me your thoughts in the comments. Give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're not already. And yeah, I'll catch you in my next video. Bye.